Hello, one and all. I'm back once again to talk about Dr. Freaking Stone, baby. Huzzah! Because we got a special manga chapter to celebrate the release of the anime special. Oh, I love this series. I freaking love this series. And I've got to say, I was maybe expecting more, big lore revelations, big character developments, like, Senku and Kwaku are dating, or this happened, or that happened, or Luna is dating Jinro, something like that, and instead we got was probably the epitome of Dr. Stone. This is the series in a nutshell. Senku wakes up in a strange environment with absolutely nothing at his disposal except, his big old brain, and he has to, use the power of science to stay alive long enough to be able to wake up other people who help him keep pushing science forward until he's able to, keep waking up more and more people as a whole team helping him push science forward. I love it. I love it. And I've got to say, they definitely one-up the stakes. I mean, the first chapter in the series had Senku, or as the fourth chapter in the series, had Senku waking up in basically the Stone Age, where everyone else had been, petrified for 3,000 years, and he was basically in the wilderness. There's not a whole lot of ways you can one-up that, but they found a way to do it, as Senku woke up with amnesia in the middle of the ocean. Actually, no, in the middle of the freaking Bermuda Triangle. Oh, that's terrifying. That is seriously like one of my biggest fears. That is literally one of my biggest fears. I am terrified of the ocean. Truly and utterly terrified. And despite this absolutely terrifying and awful situation, Senku figures, you know what? I'll figure it out. But first off, okay, what can I remember? What's going on? What do I have at my disposal right here? Also, why am I covered in oil? What the freak was I doing before I ended up in the ocean? Which, seriously, is the oil thing ever actually even explained? Senku jumps out of the plane. Yeah, I don't think it's actually explained when he covers himself in oil. Does he do that just, before the plane explodes while it's still crashing? I'm not actually sure about that. That's weird. That is really weird. But regardless, he finds himself covered in oil in the middle of the ocean with no idea how he got there. Thankfully, he's able to find the earpiece, and that leads him to his one true love, Kohaku, who greets him with a great old embrace, and it's adorable. And I'm seeing a lot of people online who are wondering, okay, is the, ship canon now? Has the ship set sail? And I'm not sure about that. I mean, she makes a big deal about the fact that Senku, woke her up instead of just leaving her as a statue, which would have been, safer for her. And, you could certainly say, that's because Senku wants her by his side because he loves her. But the argument calls to be made that Senku realizes, my chances of surviving are 1,000,000 times greater if you're awake, if you're here to help me. And that's proved fairly quickly as she's able to find a, tree miles off and brings it back to Senku, and then goes to catch a giant fish for him. Oh, I love this girl. I love this girl. But I think the important thing here is the fact that Senku didn't say that. Senku didn't say, I woke you up because it's, beneficial for me. I woke you up because it means I'm more likely to survive. Instead, he just kind of let Kohaku enjoy the moment, which feels like a very un-Senku thing to do. And that is just more evidence that Senku has true feelings for Kohaku, even if he doesn't always, express it all that well. Anyway, then we also get a flashback to how exactly they ended up in the middle of the ocean. As it turns out, they were flying for Taiju and Yuzu's honeymoon, and also because Senku needed to get some super rare minerals from Norway. Oh yeah, I love Senku. And everyone else just kind of figured, we'll go along for the ride. Why not come with you on your honeymoon? I mean, really, in what ways is a honeymoon better when it's just a couple by themselves? I can't think of anything. I love these people. I freaking love these people. And then the plane sort of kind of explodes because of St. Elmo's fire, a scientific phenomenon that I really, truly cannot explain at all. Oh, and also, the Y-Man came along for the flight. I love this. Seriously, they had no reason to think their lives would be in danger on this flight, but they brought him along simply because, he wanted to watch the future crafting of humanity. I love that. I freaking love that. Seriously, before the whole Y-Man reveal, I was figuring, these devices, the Medusas, they're going to be, this top secret thing that Senku needs to keep under lock and key 24/7. He's never going to let them outside the vault because they're such dangerous weapons in the wrong hands. And yet here, they're bringing him along for a sightseeing trip. Oh, that is beautiful. That is so utterly, utterly beautiful. And also it was a very smart move because, like I said, the plane did explode, and without the Y-Man, they would all probably have died. But before he petrifies them, they're all falling to their apparent deaths, and I just freaking love Ryu in this moment. He looks utterly and completely fearless, even saying, "I've never gone skydiving without a parachute before." Yes, obviously, that is a terrible idea. That is an overwhelmingly terrible idea, and no sane person would do it, but, he's just so freaking excited. He is literally singing as this is happening. I love it. I love it. I mean, I was a little bit bothered when I first read this chapter that wasn't really, all that focused on Ryu. I mean, the purpose of this chapter was to celebrate the Ryu anime special, and yet Ryu wasn't really in it all that much, but, in this one page, we saw all we need to know to understand Ryu. He is an adventure junkie. He loves life. He loves challenges. He never panics, never freaks out. He always remains calm in every situation. This is who he is. That is why he is the captain of the Kingdom of Science. And then they all get into protective positions before they're petrified, which kind of makes me think, is this something they've done before? I mean, Kawaku yells out, "Protective positions!" And they all know exactly what to do. Have they had, petrification drills in the past? I have so many questions. I mean, I guess that would make sense because back when, the whole world's petrified for the second time, Kawaku's sister told the entire island, "Okay, everybody, duck and cover, put your head between your knees. This is not a drill, this is not a drill." Which, back then made me think, okay, yeah, they're preparing for this. They were aware, okay, something like this might happen again, and if it does, we need to be ready. So, interesting, a very interesting detail I absolutely freaking love. Unfortunately, though, Senku is just, ridiculously unlucky and manages to somehow unpetrify himself and then get hit in the head with a log, a tree, and wind up unconscious in the middle of the ocean. Oh, poor Senku. Poor Senku. Meanwhile, the rest of the scientists back in America basically decide, okay, they're dead. There's nothing we can do. They're absolutely 100% dead. We shouldn't even bother searching for them, which feels like a very interesting decision to make, especially because I feel like they must have known that Senku had the Y-Man with him, and that he would have petrified everybody at the first sign of danger, so why give up hope? Why assume he's gonna die when he very clearly has a device with him that basically makes it impossible for him to die? Weird logic on their part, weird logic. I'm almost wondering if maybe they didn't actually know about the Y-Man, but that feels weird, that feels very weird. If anyone can explain that, I'm confused. I'm very, very confused. But anyway, though, then Senku explains, we're in the Sargasso Sea, though you may know it even better as the Bermuda Triangle. And then Kawaku's completely deadpan, like, yeah, I have no idea what the freak you're talking about, which, makes a lot of sense because, in our modern day, the Bermuda Triangle is the stuff of myth, stuff of legends. It is terrifying. I mean, even people who know nothing about the ocean know about the Bermuda Triangle. They know it's evil, it's cursed, it's full of aliens and monsters. Everyone who goes in there dies. I mean, that's an exaggeration, obviously, but that's, how the myths go. Senku even says, they say that escaping from the Bermuda Triangle is 10 billion% impossible, and yet Kawaku says that Ryu intentionally drove them into the Bermuda Triangle. He intentionally made sure that's where they crashed in order to, basically make sure they had enough materials to build a raft and survive and figure out a way not to die. Oh, I love that. I mean, that is so utterly, utterly Ryu. And then they find sweet little Suka over there. And Chrome! Yay! Now all three science users are in place again. Huzzah! Unfortunately, that was the last of the revival fluid, which is, very, very bad. But on the bright side, we get to see Kawaku and Suka reunite and hug, and it is freaking adorable, and it is worth it. And then they get, very, very serious as they start cutting up some fish. That is some scary level of intensity right there, though it makes sense. I mean, they are people who have lived on the water for literally generations. Literally the last 3,000 freaking years, so if there's one thing they know, it's freaking fish and boats. Honestly, the situation isn't nearly as bad as it first seems because, like I said, these people are the goddamn water tribe. If there's one thing they know, it's how to survive on the water. I mean, their ancestors managed to cross the ocean going from Treasure Island to Japan, to mainland Japan. Something that even, their forefathers, Senku's father and the astronauts weren't able to accomplish because it was just too freaking impossible. The ocean was too terrifying to cross, but they found a way after generations of trial and error. Oh, I love that. But anyway, though, then the next step is to make some revival fluid. Unfortunately, they are running low on nitric acid, which is going to be, really friggin' hard to make in the middle of the ocean. Even Suka, starts talking about her past, where in the middle of the Amazon rainforest, she had to make it with a whole bunch of poop that she saved up over many, many years. Oh god, poor Suka. Poor Suka. Especially because as soon as she woke up Senku, using all the vital fluid that she made after years of trial and error, Senku managed to make some, basically from scratch in the span of like 20 minutes. Oh, that was heartbreaking. That was such an utterly heartbreaking moment. Thankfully, though, Suka learned a lot from that and she realized, wait a minute, Senku, can't we make more vital fluid with lightning, with electricity? And that suggestion, combined with Chrome's amazing observational skills and Senku's knowledge of science, allows them to basically create a miracle as Senku reaches his hand into the air and catches lightning. Yeah, I'm not going to begin to try and explain how St. Elmo's fire works because I don't understand it. I literally don't understand how this thing works. I tried Googling it, didn't help all that much. So yeah, all we need to know is that Senku is able to basically harness electricity. Huzzah! And then they go back underwater, and I absolutely freaking love this page, as you can actually see the outline of shipwrecks, plane wrecks, submarines, all these things that crashed under the ocean and have remained here for literally thousands and thousands of years. The last remnants of human society. It's so amazing. And also makes a lot of sense because, this is the Bermuda Triangle where planes, ships, submarines all mysteriously crash. And I also do love the fact that Senku is with Kohaku underwater. I mean, he is certainly not a strong swimmer, but, he put in a lot of work for the astronaut training. It paid off. He's able to, more or less keep up with Kohaku under the water. Good for him. I mean, she was, literally carrying him by the hand, but the fact he's able, just to hold his breath and withstand these pressures is very impressive for Senku. And then they find some Senku's corned beef, which are able to use to basically remake the cotton candy machine from all those years ago. And I just love freaking adorable Suka. Like, oh yeah, I remember when I first had cotton candy. Those were good times. Unfortunately, though, it seems like she's forgotten, how exactly they first made the cotton candy machine, because the first trial required a whole lot of physical labor, as, they basically needed to pump over and over again to push enough air into the furnace to make it hot enough to actually make this thing work. Oh, this looks painful. This looks very, very painful. I also feel like I need to point out, they're making this furnace really, really freaking hot while they're on a wooden boat in the middle of the ocean. That feels like a bad idea. It feels like a very, very bad idea to me, but you know what? They're making it work somehow, some way. They know the science better than I do. And because of that, they're able to make nitric acid and revive Ukyo. Huzzah! And thanks to his godlike hearing, he's able to build an antenna, which leads him to Tsukasa, the world's strongest high school primate. Which is a description that seems a bit off considering the fact that Tsukasa is probably like in his mid-20s, early 30s by now. But the important thing is that Tsukasa then punched a shark. He beat a shark to death with his bare freaking hands. And it definitely feels like a callback to Suka's first appearance when he, fought a lion with his bare hands. But this is more impressive. This is definitely more impressive. A very good way of upping the stakes. But anyway, then after him, it's good old Chelsea and Sai, who are able to combine their math and geography skills to track down Ryu and figure out exactly where it is they are in this big wide ocean. And with Ryu's help, they're able to find the last few statues, wake them up, and then Yuzu gets very serious and very terrifying as she builds them a sail. Huzzah! And they have this absolutely beautiful boat that's able to, get them back to shore. And if this is the boat they came back in, I think it would make a lot of sense. I think that would, be very appropriate. I think it's like, okay, this is something you can actually build on a big, wide ocean. But no. They had to take it a step up. They had to go a step more insane as they returned to America in this monstrosity that looks straight out of Dr. freaking Seuss. Oh, I love it. I mean, it's ridiculous. It is so utterly and completely ridiculous and impractical, and I just have so many questions about exactly how long they were on the ocean, but, they made it back. Somehow, some way, they made it back. Good for them. And again, all these scientists are like, you gotta give up the search, they're clearly dead. There's no way they survived this. And I do kind of get where they're coming from because, he definitely looks exhausted. I mean, you can see the sweat literally pouring off his face. I don't think he's been getting much sleep for the last couple days. But at the same time, I mean, let's not forget, they had the freaking Y-Man, they had the Medusa, they could easily petrify themselves. So yeah, continuing this search makes a lot of sense because, it's very likely they just find them as statues. Though I guess I do need to question how good they are at searching, considering the fact that they were not able to spot this giant monstrosity in the middle of the ocean. But, whatever, they managed to make it back to America. Good for them. And as it turns out, what was inside the treasure chest was in fact silicon metal, which they can use to make semiconductors, which is the next step they need for building their freaking time machine. Huzzah! Though we know Senku, we all know Senku at this point, and we know that he's not going to stop at just, building a time machine or having semiconductors. For the next step of his plan, he needs something bigger. He needs something, beyond Earth. He needs to go someplace where he can acquire helium-3, and that was a term that sounded very, very familiar to me. And I realized, wait a minute, oh yeah, there was a game theory about how there's helium-3 on the moon. The moon. Oh, holy God above, Senku is going to build a city on the moon, isn't he? Yes, of frickin' course he is. And somehow, this is more impressive to me than time travel. I mean, time travel is just, so insane, so ridiculous, so super scientific that it sounds ridiculous. It sounds made up. But, actually, it's kind of made up. But, here, building a city on the moon, that is something that is technically feasible. It's something we could probably do with our modern day technology. There's not a whole lot of, actual need for it. I mean, okay, build a city on the moon. Then what? What do we do with it? But, for Senku, who's, running rather low on a whole bunch of rather important, minerals, materials that we kind of used up on Earth, mining the moon, or, building up a mining colony on the moon that mines asteroids out in the solar system, makes a lot of sense. So, yeah, building a moon city certainly seems like something that Senku could actually do and actually pull off in a reasonable way. I mean, this entire series has always been, scientifically probable, but not scientifically likely. Like, okay, Senku might be able to do this. I mean, there's a whole lot could go wrong, but if it doesn't go wrong, he could do this. And hey, what do you know? Nothing goes wrong. Or things go wrong that are very fixable that Senku is able to overcome by making some sort of new scientific invention. So, yeah, if you follow that logic, it is scientifically probable that Senku could in fact build a city on the moon. Somehow. And of course, Suka and Chrome are just bursting with excitement. They cannot wait to start building the blueprints for the city on the moon. Oh, I love it. I freaking love it. And really, there's no other way this series can end. There's no other way this bonus chapter could end without Senku announcing some sort of big, huge, ridiculous next scientific endeavor, next scientific invention. And I'm not actually sure if this is, foreshadowing something else, if, there's going to be another bonus chapter down the road. I mean, this chapter was done for the sake of, celebrating the release of the Ryu anime special, so maybe the author will make another chapter down the road when Season 3 of the anime starts up, and that's going to, show Senku starting the process of building up a colony on the moon. I'd love to see that. I would absolutely love to freaking see that. I think we can all agree, we need more Dr. Stone content. We absolutely need more Dr. Stone content. But please, let me know down below. What do you think of this chapter? Do you think it confirmed that Senku and Kaku are in fact an item? What do you think of the Dr. Seussian monstrosity that they built on the open ocean? What do you think about building a city on the moon? Do you think that it is in fact feasible? Is it possible? Will it go wrong? How will it go wrong? So many questions about that. So very, very many questions about that. And, we have the Ryu anime special to look forward to in a couple days. I think it's coming out on the 11th, which is going to be a bit of a weird time for me. I'm going to be out of the state for some things, and when I come back, I'm going to be busy. But then after that, I'm going to reach a period of peace and tranquility. I really, honestly hope. So hopefully I can use that time to make some more videos, but we'll see what happens. But until then, peace!